I would agree that straight up as a phone, the Pixel 9 Pro, the small one, is the best Android phone you can buy.
Yeah.
But my favorite phone of the year was the. Hello and welcome to the Android Police podcast. My name is Daniel Bader.
My name is Will Sattelberg.
Just Will. You're just
Just Will. My name is Will.
You're just
like-
you're
it's
just
like,
going by one name from now on.
Yeah, if it was good enough for Cher.
It's good enough for Cher. I mean, you and Cher.
I'm the Cher of podcasting, I would say.
I don't know
fair?
about that. I would say you're the Cher of Android podcasting.
All right, I'll take it. That feels like a much smaller qualifier, but I'll take it.
Who is the Cher of podcasting? Probably the Call Her Daddy people.
It's not Hawk to a Girl.
Oh yeah, that one. That one's gonna last a while.
She's already gone.
Oh, was it a single? Was it?
She
was
ran
it a
off. She
one-time-
no. She ran off with she did like a meme coin and then ran off with a bunch of money.
She rug pulled.
She hasn't been seen in she hasn't been heard from in like 2 weeks since she was in a bunch of hot water over her meme coin and on a
I love
Twitter
this.
live
I love
space
this as a year end, just like a capstone of the of the end of the year.
Just how stupid things are. No, she there's a clip, I'll send it to you after the show. Maybe Jules can put it in, where she's like in a live space on Twitter, and people are like talking about her like meme coin, and she like interrupts to be like,
actual like
Hey
source
guys,
of income.
I hate to interrupt you, Nick. Well, hello there. But
Yeah.
anywho, I'm gonna go to bed, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay. And
and like that was the last time she's been heard from.
Oh man,
It's
good for
so
her.
funny.
Honestly, good for her. I mean, if that's the way you're gonna go out, like just become the villain you knew you would end up. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
just own it. Seriously, good for her. Unless you lost money on her meme coin, in which case, yeah, just like
No, that's if you lost money on the Hawk to a meme coin, it's on you. You were gambling and you lost. Like you didn't invest.
you
thinking
were
it
not
was
gambling. Like you were not going to a slot machine thinking you were going to lose or win some money. Like you were literally throwing your money in the ocean and you seeing it dissolve in front of your eyes.
Yeah,
You
I would
deserve
agree.
all of that if you lost money on her meme coin. Anyway, welcome to our year-end show. The way that this is going to work is we're going to go over the top stories of the year, the trends. We're going to go over our favorite products of 2024. And in the last little bit of the show, which I think is going to be divided into 2 episodes that Jules can milk for all of the feed's worth, we're going to talk about our favorite media, books, TV, movies,
music, games.
Definitely games. Let's talk. Okay, so this was a big year for AI, and particularly for Google's Gemini platform, ecosystem, whatever you want to call it. So Will had the very good idea of asking Gemini what the top 10 tech news stories were of 2024.
Yes.
And we're going to go through them and talk about it.
Yes. If this matters, I should say that I am using 1.5 Pro. I'm not using 2.0. So perhaps that's why some of these answers are kind of odd.
I'm going to do the same, but for 2.0. I'm
Okay.
just going to, let's see if there are any differences.
Okay.
So start with number 1.
Sure. Number 1 is, and this is, I want to specify, all caps, AI everywhere. All caps. Gemini says this isn't a single event, but the overarching trend. AI went mainstream. From NVIDIA's hardware advancements pushing what's possible to Microsoft integrating AI deeply into Windows with Copilot, to the explosion of AI tools for everyday users, it's been the year AI became unavoidable. I do think that's a really good way to put it. I would call AI unavoidable. I don't know if I would use any other word to describe AI other than unavoidable.
So I think that's true.
Yeah.
I think this was the first year since 2022 that the mainstream learned about AI beyond just ChatGPT and OpenAI.
Mhm.
Google definitely captured, just by brute forcing its way into the conversation, a lot of that mental bandwidth, I guess. But I also think Facebook or Meta did a pretty good job productizing AI through its Meta AI glasses, the Ray-Bans.
Yeah.
But it's still OpenAI's game to lose for
Agreed.
all intents and purposes. I'm not talking about like the quality of the product, but in terms of mind share, when people
Yeah.
think about AI, they think about OpenAI and ChatGPT. So that I think is true. AI, and more AI. That's also the same first response that I got with Gemini 2.0.
There we go. And I would say just to add on to that like I do feel like Google is making a play for this space, the mind share space, if only because I have seen the current Gemini Live ad run like 100 times already. Like I cannot escape that Gemini Live ad.
What is it? I don't know that one.
It's just a bunch of people being like, so what is it? And then like talking to Gemini Live, and then like Google trying to show examples of how you would talk to Gemini Live.
So I just talk?
Yes, but normal.
Just talk normal.
We can have a conversation about anything you like.
Huh, anything? Can I ask you silly questions?
Can you tell something spicy without tasting it?
Have you tried smelling it?
Ooh.
Now, I will say, what they do cut out of these ads is all of the times that Gemini Live will screw up when you're talking to it. But maybe that's just in my own experience. And I'm not talking hallucinations. I'm talking like it will just mishear you, or it will stop talking in the middle of a sentence. Yeah, maybe with 2.0, it'll be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Number 2, very similar topic, the AI bubble debate. Alongside the boom, there's growing concern about an AI bubble. Are we overhyping with investment outpacing actual value? This debate raged all year with no clear answer yet. I would call this the Ed Zitron special.
Every single one of these transactions, every time someone uses this thing, it's losing them money.
Yeah, because it is very high, takes a lot of compute to make this stuff.
So expensive. And also, there's no profit on the horizon. Where's the money coming from? Like, taking away all the cynicism, just, where's the money, honey? Like, where is it?
Yeah. It also, I wrote down a list of my 5, what I would consider the 5 biggest news stories of the year before I pulled this up. And the first one I thought of is just the Rabbit R1 and Humane AI pen failures. And I would say that those fit under this. It is crazy that both of those came out this year. And
we're going to CES in 2 weeks.
We are.
And So Humane did not announce the AI pin at CES.
No, it was announced years
ago.
2 years earlier. Yeah.
But it became more widely available in the weeks after Rabbit announced the R1.
Which did happen at CES.
And I think from a mobile perspective, the most exciting announcement at CES 2024 was the Rabbit R1. They put on a very splashy Apple-like presentation. They really
kept it behind closed doors.
So they sold this idea really nicely of a product that will help you use your phone less. And I think Humane ended up doing the same thing quite effectively, although it got muddled by that awful demo video that everybody lambasted after the fact. Do you remember that one? Like it was like a 40-minute.
Oh yeah, no, it was out of touch, I would say. Yeah.
And then since those 2 products flopped, there have been other AI hardware releases, but they've gone a little bit under the radar. I think from my perspective, the Meta AI glasses are the success story there because they just got better and better at integrating something that was not really like a primary feature. It's always been, you have a camera on your face, you have headphones right next to your ears, and you can use those cameras now to work pretty well with an AI that doesn't pretend to do more than it says on the tin. And because of that, it's actually been quite interesting to see Meta evolve its like product in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were more failures than successes on the AI hardware front this year.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what comes at CES because I genuinely think that this is going to be like, it's all going to be AI hardware or software like in 2 weeks. Like that's what we'll be living and breathing. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why I'm not as excited about CES this year as I otherwise would have been, because I think we're back at that point where companies know they have to tout AI as a feature, but it's still yet to find traction as a selling point. So companies are towing this delicate line between how much do we say about the core experience of like, here's a great OLED TV that has excellent viewing angles and all these, new processing features, while also saying, but AI will also make this experience or this part of the experience better.
Right.
And to be honest, like I've yet to see a single integration in like a traditional piece of hardware that AI improves.
Yeah, no, it comes back to the thing we said on the show before, which is that the best AI use cases are incredibly small, maybe not even niche, but just small little time savers, and it is incredibly difficult to sell hardware or even software on that, right? Like it is hard to come up to someone and be like, you know that thing that you hate? Like, what if you could cut it down by like 5 to 10 seconds and like expect people to be wowed compared to like, what if you carried a little device that, ordered DoorDash for you? Whether or not that works, but that's what's going to grab people's attention, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the second half of the year was I think the second half of the year was getting people ready for agentic AI, if you will.
Yeah.
Right? This idea that AI will help you by literally just like doing the thing for you, and us getting used to that idea of trusting an AI ecosystem that has traditionally hallucinated more than it hasn't
Yeah.
to actually perform tasks for us in a way that like we can just like turn away from it and expect that it'll perform properly.
Yeah.
I don't know. That doesn't sound particularly alluring to me, but maybe,
Yeah.
you know.
No, I agree. I need to be shown something where I go like, yes, that is like, you know what? I do hate doing X task. Thank God, like an agentic AI service can do it for me now. And like, so far, like ordering a pizza is not something that I'm like, ugh, I can't believe I have to take my phone out and type in my pizza order into my phone so that I can wait for the pizza. Like, it's just not like they are not convincing me with like, we can
No.
order you food. First of all, as you said, like, I just don't trust it to get the order right. I don't want to trust a service to be like, no, 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 don't worry, we got you. We can get we know exactly what you want from from the pizza place you want it from. We know
Mhm.
everything that you want to eat for dinner, and it definitely won't get screwed up in any way whatsoever. But even if it's 100% perfect, no mistakes whatsoever, it's still just one of those things where I'm like, I don't mind if I'm ordering a pizza. I do not mind like opening an app and typing in like the toppings I want. I don't know.
But also it's not it doesn't save time,
No,
right? Because
no.
you're still going to have to audit what happened, right? And the way that I think about it is I would probably trust an agent to order me an Uber, right? If I
Sure.
said, pick me up at 123 John Street
Mhm.
and take me to 321 Will Street.
Sure.
Okay. Like, fine. But there's always going to be nuance there. If I say, pick me up at 123 John Street and take me to Chuck E. Cheese,
Mhm.
and I don't want to have to elaborate, or I think about like, or take me to Starbucks, which like take me to the closest Starbucks.
Right.
That's a loaded question.
You got to
Even that
remember.
alone, I'm not
Oh
going to
yeah.
trust, right? Like the vectors for error are so high that it's not worth the mental load of trusting it over just opening up an app and tapping. Like, obviously, that's not the only use case for an agent. And I think eventually we are going to see much smarter and more interesting examples of how agents can help us.
Mhm.
My big thing would just be like, make the internet less shitty,
Mhm.
you know? But like
Yeah.
that's not an AI thing. That's an HTML thing. That's a web
Yeah.
browser thing. Like if I could just have an agent click accept on all of the cookie banners forever, I would do that. But you can do that right now with a Chrome extension.
Yeah.
You know, it's not you don't need an agent to physically go and click that button.
Well, and that also comes down to like, that's a perfect example of what I'm saying, where it's like if someone got up on stage at CES and was like, check out our brand new like AI agent. Look, here's what it can do for you. It can click OK on those cookie notices you hate. Everyone would go, okay, I guess that's cool. Would anyone write about it? This is what I mean when I'm like the actual useful, good use cases for most AI applications, and like I'm using like lowercase a here, not like specific software, are things that like are not particularly impressive, but that save you a little bit of time that adds up throughout your day, and it's not necessarily calling you an Uber or ordering a pizza because it's going to screw up your toppings, or it's going to call you an Uber X when you meant to get an Uber XL. Those things are going to be, and even down to like, even if it's coming back to you and being like, hey, here's the Starbucks we're going to send you to, does that look good? Also, did you want an Uber X or an Uber XL, or one of the other 17 types of Ubers you can call now? Like, we are already past the
I want
point.
an Uber Green
Yeah.
Comfort, but I
Yeah.
only want a Model 3 in gray. Make it happen. It's like, okay, now the agent's cycling through. It's just like
Yes, it's
ordering
just
Ubers and canceling them, ordering them and
Canceling.
canceling. And then you get like $80 of cancellation fees. And it's like, oh, I got what you wanted. It's like,
And you know what?
thanks.
In that specific use case, I see why the agent would be helpful, because you are a nut who is who is going to have to
You are a
cancel a bunch
nut.
of Ubers.
You're a nut who's using an Uber app with an agent. Like,
Yeah.
that's your problem.
But I just like, I don't know. It's I think we have yet to be shown what the actual like good use cases for an agent. And I'm open to it, and God knows we're going to see it at CES. That's the entire thing.
Okay, let's keep going.
Sure. Number 3 was the first 5 of these are AI related, so it's probably good we rush through these. Generative AI gets creative (parentheses) and controversial. Tools like DALL-E 2, Stable Diffusion, etc. got even better at creating images, text, even music. This led to amazing art. I'm going to come back to this. But also ethical concerns around copyright, job displacement, and the potential for misuse, such as deepfakes, etc. Did it lead to amazing art, Daniel?
No, I don't think
it didn't.
I don't think. I think what happened this year was that Apple and Google productized image creation in a way that gave it to everybody.
Yeah.
I think Apple in particular, by creating a product like Genmoji, found a way to do it without like causing harm.
Yeah.
But I don't actually think it's this selling feature that anybody is touting as like something we're going to use on a regular basis. What I think is more impressive than generative AI image creation or even video creation, which we got towards the end of the year in Sora and what's the one Google's calling?
It's got a weird name, right?
Is that companies like Adobe are using generative fill for images that just feel much more natural than they did a year or two ago.
Yeah.
So like I use generative fill almost every time I edit a photo now.
Yeah.
Because it feels
really
like I can rely on it to fix problems beyond just doing the sort of old school magic eraser style cleaning up an image.
Yes.
Right. And in that sense, yeah, like Gen AI is great for certain things, but like most AI tools, it's not creating something from scratch that you're going to find benefit from. It's improving the thing that you've already done yourself.
Yeah, no, that's first of all, before we get too far, VO2 was the Google one.
Okay, yeah.
But no, that's exactly what I was going to say as like a caveat to me kind of dunking on the amazing art part of this listing, which is that I am sure people have made amazing art with the assistance of AI in the same way that people have made amazing art with the assistance of Photoshop or Illustrator. It is one thing to use it as a tool in your creative process versus just I typed a prompt into Gemini or into Pixel Studio and it made a funny image of SpongeBob. Like that's not really what that is what when I read this, that is what it's referring to. And I would argue that no, SpongeBob hanging out with Arnold from Hey Arnold is not cool.
I mean, I do think one of the highlights of my year was when we got access to Pixel Studio and started making really, really just bad taste,
Yeah, how far can we push?
borderline hate speech images.
Yeah.
That was all interesting. But like, how many times can you create Nazi versions of your favorite cartoon characters to try to test the limits of a Gen AI tool before you just become one of the problem?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and the answer is that like we as a tech community did it for a week.
10 minutes,
Well,
15
well,
minutes.
I'm gonna say a week overall of on and on. And I'm not saying a week straight, but like on and off of being like, what if I typed this in, saw it either didn't do it or it did it, and we were like, oh, that's bad. And then I think reviews came out and we moved on. Basically.
Yeah, but also that was like Google then went back and just nuked the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
not good. Big Tech's mixed bag is number 4. While AI dominated, the usual giants had their own sagas. Meta continued its metaverse push, but with questions about its viability. Apple remained mostly quiet on AI, focusing on hardware iterations, and Google had internal struggles over its AI strategy, despite having pioneered many advancements. I don't understand this at all. So I would say Apple did not remain quiet on AI. It was the entire back half of WWDC.
And then basically every single product launch, they spent almost the entire time talking about AI.
Literally every single iPhone 16 commercial is phrased as iPhone 16, the first iPhone built for Apple Intelligence. Like it's burned into my brain from watching football.
Yeah, and it's
doesn't
taken until December for
Yeah.
Apple Intelligence to launch.
Yes.
In any like real way.
Has Meta continued its metaverse push? I guess they made new hardware.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting because Meta had like a quietly successful year. Like if you think about it, Llama is like the only viable open source LLM.
Yeah.
And they're putting it everywhere and they're making it really easy to integrate into apps. So a lot of developers are just using Llama because it's free.
Yeah.
The Meta Ray-Ban glasses are a success.
Mhm.
Just straight up the best example of wearable computing ever. And that includes the Vision Pro, which we haven't
low
talked
bar.
about yet. But that also came out this year. I would say the metaverse is still not a thing, but Meta made Horizon into a better product. It released the Quest 3 and 3S, which are good, solid VR and mixed reality headsets with some AAA games now that feel meant for VR. You know, Arkham Shadow. There was that other one, Asgar's Wrath. I think.
The RPG. Yeah.
The RPG that IGN gave a 10 out of 10 to, and everybody seems to love. And then, yeah, like Threads. Threads has been a quiet success for Facebook or Meta as well.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, WhatsApp is less shitty now. Frankly, I think Meta had one of the best years. And also, it was the Zuckerberg glow-up year.
Made a song with T-Pain.
Mark Zuckerberg and T-Pain released this song under the name Z-Pain. They shared it on Instagram last night. They are trending. Afterwards, they explained that they recorded the track as a tribute to Mark Zuckerberg's wife in honor of their anniversary.
It's so romantic. 21 years later, I can't get quite as low.
Like, this was Zuckerberg's year, man. He just freaking... Elon Musk was like the villain, and Zuckerberg's just like
hanging out,
wearing gold chains,
skidooing
or whatever he does on the water on one leg, making songs with T-Pain.
Yeah,
you know, it worked.
It worked. It did. Now, granted, Elon Musk's role as a villain, which I would argue is not new, but was taken to new heights this year, might land him as Speaker of the House. So
no, you have to be elected to be Speaker, from what I understand.
No, anyone can be Speaker. You do not have to be an elected official. He has to be elected the Speaker of the House, but he does not have to be a member of the House.
You don't have to be a congressperson?
Nope.
Whoa.
Nope.
I didn't know that.
Nope. Him or Vivek are people that the Republicans are floating for.
I do not think that's going to happen. But anyway,
dude, I have absolutely. I'm not going to make predictions on what's going to happen in the next 4 years of I'm not. Same with your country, to be honest, Daniel. I'm not going to make predictions about what's happening up there either.
Oh, I will. I absolutely
Sure.
know what's going to
Oh
happen.
yeah.
Up here,
Okay.
but
Let me rephrase. I don't know when it's going to happen. Who knows? Is he going to drop out tomorrow or next
that
month?
I don't know, but he'll be out of politics pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's fair to say. How do we feel about Google having internal struggles over its AI strategy, despite having pioneered many advancements? You agree with that very vague statement?
I mean, this was the year Bard got replaced by Gemini.
February. Yeah.
The productization of Gemini was as successful as it could have gone, given just how many moving parts there were. I think integrating DeepMind into Google has been largely successful. I think Google had its strongest hardware year to date, and that made it easier for AI to be part of the discussion rather than the only discussion.
Yeah.
So if it hadn't, I was waiting for that. Consolidating everything, including Android under Rick Osterloh, pushing up the release date of new Android versions so that it can get ahead of the hardware and therefore beat the iPhone. Like, these are all solid moves on Google's front. The concern that I have, though, is Gemini as a product is not differentiated at all. I have Gemini and ChatGPT open side by side right now with the same question.
Yeah.
And from they are completely undifferentiated. And the advantage Google has is that it owns Android, right? But Google may have to sell Chrome or Android. We haven't talked about the antitrust stuff, but Google lost one of the most consequential antitrust lawsuits of all time this year.
Yes.
Their ability to own the entire stack may be compromised, but I think the only reason Gemini has been as successful as it is because Google is a monopoly, right? It's a monopoly in search. It's a monopoly on the app distribution front. And as much as those are going to be disrupted by this antitrust lawsuit decision, not a whole lot is going to change in the short term. Like, the fact that Google can almost force its hardware partners to replace Assistant with Gemini is just a huge network effect advantage for them. Whereas, what does ChatGPT have? It has no layer. It's a software layer. That's all it is.
It's an app, basically. The only thing I would add on to that is that I think the Pixel 9 launch and how successful that was, and even if whether or not people have adopted their new AI tools on that phone, like, I think Google did the best job of any company in showing AI tools on their hardware. I did think that helped to paper over what was like a really messy, unfocused I/O. Like, I don't think it's been 7 months, so I think it's easy to forget that, like, I/O was like all over the map and was like incredibly, like, for what is usually a fairly consumer focused keynote, as much as a developer conference can be, like, their main keynote felt very dev focused this year in a way that I think made it seem like the company was kind of like just throwing everything at the wall to see what stuck. And I feel like we didn't get a better picture on what they were trying to do until the Pixel 9 launched 3 months later.
Yeah. At which time they announced features for the Pixel 9 that had been announced for the Pixel 8.
Right. It kind of linked up with once the hardware was there, but before that it was a little all over the place.
And like, I'll say this, right? Like, there were examples of features like Pixel screenshots that I thought would be more impactful than they were.
Agreed.
I still think it's a great idea, but I do think the way that Google is like peppering Android with bits and pieces of AI is always going to be slightly messy, because Android is slightly messy, because the Pixel is separate from Android, but Pixel benefits from a lot of Android's improvements. So the way Apple has done it is slightly cleaner, but also slightly less impressive as a result. Anyway, what's the next one?
Well, now we're going to start getting into what I would call Gemini just trying to guess at what I'm looking for, because I don't think the rest of these are particularly I wouldn't put them on my list of the biggest stories of the year. So we have cybersecurity in the AI age. With AI becoming central to more systems, both the threats and the defense mechanisms evolved. AI-powered malware became a real concern, while cybersecurity firms used AI to try and stay ahead. This is very vague. I don't have a lot to say about it. It's citing like a Forbes article. I can't think of like a specific like AI-powered piece of malware that like broke through.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, I think the big one that we haven't spoken about is CrowdStrike.
Right. Yes. Which is
Because
on my
that
list.
wasn't an AI related
Was not. No.
vulnerability, but like,
Yeah.
CrowdStrike messed up a lot of people's summers.
Oh yeah. I had a flight delay related to CrowdStrike when I flew out to New York for
And it's hard to believe it was only 6 months ago.
Yeah. No, it was not. It was in July, right? It was not good. It was not good. I'm going to run through these very quickly because I want to talk about, I kind of wanted to actually talk about the biggest tech stories with you. We have a few left that we should get to. And I also want to compare this list to ChatGPT because like you, I also pulled this up in ChatGPT. Space Race 2.0. This starts not strictly tech, but SpaceX and others continued to push boundaries. And then it talks about the privatization of space. Telecom trends is number 7. While less flashy than AI, 5G rollout continued and discussions about 6G began.
Bullshit.
Not true. Just fully not true.
Absolute lies.
Yeah.
Nobody is talking about 6G.
No.
Except for people at like Nokia and Ericsson and Huawei.
Number 8 is Africa's tech scene. While often overlooked, Africa saw significant growth in its tech sector. I do believe that, but I don't know if that is one of the 10 biggest tech stories of the year. Number 9 is the metaverse still figuring itself out. This is basically just recapping what we already said about Meta a few minutes ago in its own point for some reason. And the number 10 is the Please Call Me saga ends. This is specific to South Africa, but highlights the intersection of tech and social justice. After a long legal battle, the inventor of the Please Call Me service, which I add editorially that I'm not familiar with, finally received compensation from Vodacom, a major telecom company. I don't know what story this is. I don't know. It's apparently the 10th biggest of the year. No, I tried to research it and like didn't find a ton about it from like huge. So I believe it's a story. Like things did come up about it, but number 10, I don't know. So I'm not going to read the blurbs from ChatGPT because I think that would be bad radio, but I will read. It gave me, I just said what were the biggest tech stories of the year. It gave me 8. I should say I'm using ChatGPT 4.0 and I did use the search tool to help it out here. Surge in AI investments. Number 2 is advancements in smart glasses. 3 is tech stock market volatility. Number 4 is global IT outages linked to CrowdStrike. 5 is the legal battle between ARM and Qualcomm. 6 is Meta's developments in AR and AI. 7 is proliferation of pig butchering scams. Okay. And number 8 is AI's role in political campaigns. I would argue that the ChatGPT list is better. I'm fascinated by this pig butchering scam one. I don't know what is happening with this.
It just refers to raising little piglets, fattening them up, and butchering them. And they're fattening up their victim with illusions of grandeur, of wealth, of love, before bleeding them dry.
Pig butchering, or what the FBI has kindly coined confidence scams,
We have a much nicer title for it.
Are a combination of 2 popular cons.
Investment scams and romance scams.
Otherwise, like, yeah, I as we mentioned, like CrowdStrike was a big deal. We hadn't talked about ARM and Qualcomm, but that those companies are continuing to fight. And to be honest, like, we saw Qualcomm launch their first chipset with like a custom cores in the CPU. That's a big deal. That's the list. Do you have anything to add to any of this, or do you want to just maybe shout out a couple other
Yeah,
stories?
I want to just finish up this quick list. So obviously, I think the biggest story earlier this year, aside from AI, was the Vision Pro.
Yes, which didn't appear in either of these lists, and I agree deserves a discussion point.
And not because it was a successful launch, but because it wasn't. And I think
Yeah.
what's so interesting about the Vision Pro was that it was a new Apple category, huge product that has just disappeared from our collective consciousness. And that's because it's a VR headset, right?
Yeah.
And I think
it's a $3,500 VR headset.
Yes, true.
You know, if this thing was $1,000, I think it's a completely different conversation.
I don't agree with that. Honestly, I don't.
Fair enough.
I think if Apple had released $1,000 VR headset, it
Yeah.
would have been even less interesting.
Okay.
Because then it would have just been a Quest competitor. And the reason this got as much press as it did was for its technology.
Sure.
And then was undermined straight away by the fact that that technology enabled almost nothing of real differentiation.
Well, so that's what I was going to say. Apple might not want you to think of this as a Quest competitor, but at the end of the day, it is doing 99% of the same stuff that a Quest 3 can do. You know what I'm saying? Like the additions that Apple added, such as like the eyesight stuff, is stupid. It's very dumb. I struggle to think of something I would do on here that I wouldn't be able to do with a Quest 3, even if the hardware is not as impressive, right? Like I think this probably has the best display within the headset that you could find right now, right? Like I think I don't even think that's up for
the hardware is unquestionably the best in the market by far. But that's not the point.
Warrant costing 6 times as much as a Quest 3. Like is there 6 times worth of value here? No,
but that's not even the point. The point is that it is undermined by the very form factor, right?
Yeah.
It is just reality that, I mean, excuse the pun, that like the $500 Quest 3 is probably the quintessential version of a VR headset.
Right.
And that the next step is making it into a pair of glasses. And Meta has that version right now. Like they have Orion, which is not a product, but they made a big deal about this in August or September. Prototype, which is essentially like a proper pair of AR glasses.
Yeah.
But the Vision Pro is not that. It's a VR headset with some ability to do mixed reality. But again, like VR is not the replacement for anything, and it's not something most people want to experience. It's lonely. It's weird.
Did you see that video from like a week or two ago it was on Twitter of like a Vision Pro owner and his wife who is also a Vision Pro owner watching TV together?
I did not.
It is absolutely bizarre. It is.
That's a $7,000 plus tax example of a very, very troubled relationship.
It had like incredibly odd music under it. They were reacting to each other's like virtual avatar laid over each other. It was deeply unsettling, I would say. But yeah, I agree. This is a very lonely product. This is a product that feels made for like planes. That's it.
Yeah. In a way that so many pieces of tech are like hyper focused when you're on a plane.
Yeah.
That for some reason, like the blank screen of writing an article or whatever doesn't feel as daunting when you're on a plane because there's nothing else to do.
Right.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a couple more here. One was just the explosion in smart glasses popularity, which we've talked about a little bit. Antitrust was a huge one, right? And the fact that Apple, Google, Amazon, Meta are all in the crosshairs is not surprising. Nothing's changed yet, but like influence or the threat of regulation has changed the behavior of a lot of companies. We didn't talk about AI overviews. That was a fail, and Google had to roll that out.
It really feels like, as live as they are for everyone, and it feels like they're now on every search, it also feels like, I don't know, I just like, I mean, I guess I can't speak for average users, but I really just slide right past them, like their ads. I don't pay attention to them. Maybe I'm the weird one out, but it's not even a conscious decision on my part. I just like, if I'm searching for something, I don't feel like I'm going to get it from AI overviews.
Yeah, agreed. And then the last one I think is TikTok, right? TikTok might be banned. That was a pretty like quiet story until recently.
Yeah, now that we're so close to that, like we're like a month out from that because I think it's right before or right after inauguration.
The 21st or the 21st.
Yeah, so and it's we'll see this. They're going to the Supreme Court. So
and then finally this was Nvidia's year. Like,
oh my god,
does it really matter in what way? If you're talking about AI, if you're talking about just like consumer GPUs,
the stock
NVIDIA
market.
could do no wrong.
Yeah.
And as somebody who was trying to build a PC over Black Friday, it is increasingly apparent that the cost of GPUs is not going down anytime soon.
No.
And NVIDIA is the single largest beneficiary of that inflation.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay. I'm sure there were other big tech stories this year. If you had any that we missed, send it to us, podcast@editor, please. But let's go into our favorite products of the year. We'll start with phone. I think that's the obvious one here. What was your favorite phone of 2024?
This was a weird year for phones. Like I feel like in general, 2023 was like a stronger crop, or at least a more interesting crop. It was probably the Pixel 9 Pro, but I'm not like confident in that, right? Like I think the Pixel 9 series in general, like all 4 phones were really impressive. I think if there had been stronger competitors, I think they could have been topped easily. I would just say that like I don't think anything from Samsung hit the highs of the Pixel 9. I don't think the OnePlus 12 hit the highs of the Pixel 9, even though that's a solid phone in its own right. We didn't see like a new OnePlus Foldable, which the Open was my favorite phone of 2023. So yeah, probably the Pixel 9 Pro. It's certainly the phone I used the most. And if not that, then probably the Pro Fold, which I do think is a very good foldable.
I would agree that straight up as a phone, the Pixel 9 Pro, the small one, is the best Android phone you can buy.
Yeah.
But my favorite phone of the year was the Moto Razr Plus.
That's fair.
Like,
good phone.
Just leaps and bounds. I enjoyed using that phone more than any other, including the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, which I really like and think is the best large screen foldable you can buy right now. But I just loved using this phone. I had it in my pocket for a couple of months in the summer, and every time I took it out and used it, I smiled. Like it's still, I just pick it up and use it every once in a while because I just think it's a great product.
It is, yeah.
Motorola crushed it. And I'm just so happy that there is proper competition now in the small and large foldable space. And some of it is available to people in North America because, it's not always something you can take for granted. So that is my phone of the year. Runner up very closely, followed by the 9 Pro Fold, which I think is excellent.
When we should say that those are, and I know this because I wrote the blurb for it, but those are AP's top 2 foldables as well. The Moto Razr Plus won AP's foldable of the year, and then the runner-up was the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. So there you go. Sorry, Samsung. Better luck next year. Maybe learn
maybe
from
don't
your
do the same
competition.
thing for 5 years in a row.
Yeah, maybe consider innovating a little bit. Sorry. You never know. Next year might be Samsung's year.
All right, best wearable.
Mm-hmm.
I think this one is pretty clear.
Yes, the Galaxy Watch Ultra.
Okay.
I'm the Pixel Watch 3 is an excellent wearable.
Yes, I would say that's. I would say the Galaxy Watch Ultra was the biggest disappointment of 2024.
Samsung catching strays, but I don't think unfairly is all I would say.
Although to be fair, like I do have a single Samsung product in my favorites list this year.
Is it best tablet by default?
It is not best tablet. No,
that's my best tablet by default.
Yeah, it's the only tablet. That's the problem.
The only tablet, Galaxy Tab S10 Plus. It's a good tablet. Nothing wrong with it.
But I will talk. Let's talk about the Pixel Watch 3 for a second because that was a massive improvement over the Pixel Watch 2. 2 sizes, much better performance, bigger
larger screen.
like larger screen.
Yeah.
This is Google at its best, given that it's consistent with its form factor, but making minor yet significant improvements to both the hardware and software. And it worked out, right? Like, this is their Apple Watch Series 3, which is the first Apple Watch that I consider mainstream. And this one just hit it out of the park. It's a great product. It's not too expensive. And I think looks the best of all smartwatches out there, especially the larger one.
Agreed.
Okay. What about headphones? Do you have a headphone or earbud that you wanted to crown as best of 2024?
I don't, unfortunately. I feel like I've had bad luck with earbuds for the last couple of years, so I don't have a particular favorite this year.
Okay.
I have heard that the Nothing Buds have gotten really good in their last couple of releases, and I would like to try a pair at some point.
Yeah. So my favorite earbuds were the OnePlus Buds
3
Pro
Pro.
3 or 3 Pro.
Yeah.
They're excellent.
I do have a pair of those, and I do like them.
They're better than the Samsung Galaxy Buds 3 Pro. Not by a huge margin. They're cheaper. They're more comfortable. But I think Samsung did have, even though the change in design was a little controversial, it's I think ultimately the right move and made the earbuds slightly better. Although they don't sound better than the Buds 2 Pro, but they are more comfortable in my ears and therefore sound better because they just fit better.
Right.
But yeah, like from a headphone perspective, this was a pretty good year. That's nice that there were a lot of good options. I'm a little disappointed in the Pixel Buds 2 Pro.
Yeah.
Or Pro 2, whatever you want to call it. That one in particular, I was a little upset about.
Yeah.
They're not bad. They're just fine.
Yeah.
Okay. What other categories are there? I mean, smart home.
Sure. I bought a Wi-Fi. I'm gonna call it a thermometer, even though that's not really what it is. But like a temperature sensor for our house that was nice while we were recently away on a trip this past week. It was nice for how cold it is at home to keep an eye on the temperature for for our pets.
Mhm.
You know, so that was good because we don't have a smart thermostat. I'm aware that also accomplishes it, but we don't have one. And so instead of, adding a seat wire into my house, just buying like it's a Govee like smart thing. Like it's just a little puck that was like $40 and I could check on the temperature of the house anytime was very nice.
Mhm.
That's not a really exciting one, but it is a good example of a convenient piece of smart home tech.
Yeah, I would say two small things for me. One, the Nest thermostat 4th gen was my just like
if I were to buy a thermostat,
favorite
that's what I would upgrade
product. My favorite smart home product. It's excellent. It's reliable. It does what it says on the tin. I cannot complain at all. There's like not a ton else I can say about the smart home. I will say my favorite computing product of this year is the Mac Mini M4.
I want to buy one so bad, just because it's so
bought
cheap.
one. I didn't buy like the base model, but I bought the close to the base
one
model.
up. Yeah.
All I did was upgrade the RAM from 16 to 24 gigs, but it's a beast and it's quiet and it does what it does exactly what you expect it to do. It's excellent. I loved it.
I should also say this is the year that and especially the last couple months, I finally sat down and put the half an hour into like really optimizing like the Google Home app for myself, like organizing my favorites and making sure everything was linked together. It's a hump to get over, but once you do, like that is a really good way to manage your smart home. They've done a good job on it.
Any other categories that you want to talk about?
I'm just trying to think of like stuff to shout out at this point. The Amber Nick, whatever the letter combination is, the entire series, but the SP knockoff
SP
in particular that you saw me with at Made by Google. I'm a huge fan of. I think, and they just released a Game Boy Advance shaped one that I am like trying my hardest not to buy because I don't need it. It's literally the same thing in a different shell. But as someone who had both an Advance and an Advance SP as a child, I am tempted to buy another Amber Nick handheld to play the same 30 ROMs that I've been playing for 20 years.
Yeah.
Legally obtained, of course. Yeah, otherwise, that's kind of, I feel like that's it for my, I don't know. Oh God. Okay. I do want to shout out that I bought an iPhone 16 and that I like it quite a bit. I think the software is terrible, but in terms of a piece of hardware, it's just a really nice piece of hardware. I think they kind of
great.
Between the like just the overall design, like the all matte design, and then the colors, like they kind of crushed it. I hope companies like Google or Samsung take inspiration from it, even just on the colors alone. I'm not saying you have to copy the colors. I'm just saying they should look at how excited people got over ultramarine and teal, and they should learn a lesson from that because those are big, bright, bold colors that make tech a lot more fun.
Yeah, I think that's true. This has not been a forward-looking year for hardware for me. It's been a past-looking hardware year for me. Like I fished out my Vita and played that a lot this year.
Yeah.
And it still holds up great. I'm taking a lot more photos with the camera that I bought 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because why not? I'm messing around with like old e-readers because I'm trying not to use my phone as much to read because I get distracted. So I have like a Kindle Oasis that still gets a lot of use. You know, just things like that. Like I've repurposed a lot of old tech in an attempt to try to just be more present and not buy new shit. Not that I haven't bought a lot of new shit, but I also just want to make the best of what I have. And yeah, actually, I will say this I didn't buy, but I got it as a review unit. The Remarkable Pro writing tablet, Remarkable Paper Pro. It's not a major upgrade over the Remarkable 2, but it's just slightly bigger and better enough that I was like, yeah, this is excellent. This is awesome. If you're somebody who really likes that feeling of like writing paper, it's so expensive, but it's so well made.
I was gonna say I would own one of these if they were cheaper. If I
they're-
could get one for like $250. Like I'm not saying the Pro. I'm saying like if the Remarkable 2 was not $380, it was $250. I would really strongly consider it. But it's just so much money for.
But I would
such
say
a
like most
single-purpose
people
device.
will find that's a fair cost. Like
Yeah.
you will
Oh no,
get
I'm not.
your
It's
money's
a nice
worth out
piece of.
it.
Yeah, it's a good piece of hardware. It's just so tricky to. It's a lot of
Justify
money.
it.
Yeah, it's a lot of
for sure.
And to be honest though, I'm like so into single use devices like this or like Kindles or you know, I would if Apple ever brought back an iPod, I would buy it in a heartbeat. Like just make an Apple Music supported iPod Classic and I would buy it. They could charge $1,000 for it and I would buy it tomorrow.
Please don't do that.
But think about how nice the OLED screen on it would be if they were charging $1,000.
It would be good. It would be a beautiful screen.
Good OLED
I'll give you that.
But no, I'm like super into this kind of concept. So maybe I should just buy a Remarkable 2. Maybe I'll put it in my cart right now.
You should. All right, that's it. That's the show. Thank you so much for listening. And
we didn't do an outro for the other show, so this is just going to have to be the outro for both shows.
The other shows just use Gen AI, Jules, to create one.
I think just copy and paste this into both, in my opinion. Just including all of this. Just play it back twice. They won't care.
Maybe we should just do a quick one.
Okay.
All right. This is the end of the first half of our year-end series, where we focus on all of the top news stories of the year, our favorite products of the year. There is another shorter episode in your feed that you can listen to right now. Or maybe soon, depending on when you listen to this, all about our favorite media, movies, books, TV shows, games of the year. So that's this portion of the show. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.